Is it really surprising that the most powerful man in the world should be?
Millions of people flock to amusement parks each year to be scared out of their wits.
I believe extreme rides are those amusement devices that really push the envelope of human creativity and imagination, that push you to the edge of danger but don't quite let you go there.
In these parks, travel sickness mixed with absolute terror adds up to fun.
It really conjures up all of those emotions and feelings that really make you feel like you're out of control, but you know you're not out of control.
It's heart-stopping, heart-pounding.
When you ride it, you get that intense feeling and you just want to ride it like over and over and over again.
Each new ride that's developed must be farther and faster. In other words, more frightening than the last.
The state of extreme rides today is the best it's ever been. You know, virtually the sky's the limit.
They continue to get bigger, faster, wilder, scarier, more intense.
They're pushing the envelope, pushing people's imaginations.
If you have the stomach and the nerve, hold on for a tour of the world's most extreme rides. America's 450 amusement parks attract 300 million visitors a year. Most are looking for fun, many are seeking thrills.
Thrill, fear, and fun. It's all the same. For someone who really likes rides, you know, you want to have the fun, and a lot of people, you can't have fun unless you have the fear.
For them, fun comes from total fear, the illusion of being in danger at high speed.
Extreme ride is a ride that will give you a huge adrenaline rush, and it will give you a concept of risk, even when there is no risk involved.
Before exploring the very best extreme rides, here's a brief look at a few of the newest and latest. Busch Gardens in Tampa Bay, Florida, opened Rhino Rally, a four-wheel drive off-road safari. In Allentown, Pennsylvania, Dorney Park opened the Talon, a coaster more than 3,000 feet long and 130 feet high.
With today's technology, you're finding that with roller coasters we can now do more things. We can now create a flying sensation, a diving sensation, things that you can do on a roller coaster that unless you're a pilot or a skydiver, you can't get anywhere else. So that's why you're seeing an increase in extreme thrill rides.
In Branson, Missouri, the Silver Dollar City opened Wildfire, a sit-down coaster that travels at 66 miles an hour over woods and hills. Six Flags over Texas in Fort Worth came up with the Titan, the longest ride in the state. The steel used in its construction was enough for 16,000 cars. The cars travel at 85 miles an hour, climb 25 stories high, and drop down at 61 degrees. Not to be outdone, Six Flags Great Adventure in Jackson, New Jersey, opened the tallest and fastest traditional steel coaster on the East Coast. The 80-mile-per-hour Nitro has open-air seats that take riders 230 feet high. Then it hurtles them into extreme maneuvers that include a 215-foot first drop. And in roller coaster vernacular, highly banked horizontal flat loops, an S-curve and a high-speed hammerhead. In an attempt to meet that demand, Deja Vu was opened at 3 places at once. Six Flags Magic Mountain in Valencia, California, Six Flags Over Georgia in Atlanta, and Six Flags Great America in Gurnee, Illinois.
You'll zip down 90 degrees through the station at 70 miles an hour, loop through a boomerang, a loop, back up on your back, 200 feet straight into the air. You feel like an astronaut as you're climbing this thing. It really takes roller coasters to another extreme because you truly get a forward and backward sensation, thus the name Deja Vu.
Meanwhile, Six Flags Marine World in Vallejo, California, and Six Flags Great America in Illinois opened V2, Vertical Velocity. The shuttle coaster rockets riders at up to 70 miles per hour up 15-story towers. Paramount's King's Dominion in Doswell, Virginia tried a redefinition of extreme with its hypersonic. It uses compressed air shock absorbers and rubber tires to reach 80 miles an hour in less than 2 seconds.
The whole idea of coming to a park or going on to an extreme ride is the feeling that you're escaping from everything else and you're away from the mundane and you're doing something very special. So it's a real rush for a lot of people.
Now let's visit Mitchellville, Maryland to explore our first extreme ride. Here, a new machine is designed for virtual flight. Soaring 115 feet high, along 3,340 feet of steel track, at more than 50 miles an hour, through a horseshoe inversion, a vertical loop, a pair of corkscrews, and 4 180-degree flips. And all of this faced lying down.
Yeah! Batwing, Six Flags America! Absolutely extreme! Woo!
Batwing cashes in on a desire shared by most children and not a few adults.
Man has always wanted to fly.
Together and saying, you know, we've pushed roller coasters almost as far as we can push them. Let's look at something a little different and see if we can find a new experience that can replicate the thrill of a roller coaster, but can do it in a different way. And thus, Acrophobia was born.
Located on the outskirts of Atlanta, Acrophobia is the first free-fall drop ride where riders don't sit in seats, they stand with their legs dangling free. Nor does it go straight up. The platform spins at a full rotation on the way to the top to allow visitors to enjoy the view.
But what makes this ride unique among other drop rides is when you get to the top, you know you're going to drop, but as the seat comes a little forward a few degrees and up to 15 degrees, you know, most rides you drop and you go feet first, but here you're looking down, and that can be scary.
When you're 200 feet in the air and looking straight down 200 feet, it feels like you're 1,000 feet in the air. You're sitting there for what seems like an eternity, waiting on this thing to drop, looking at the ground 200 feet below you, wondering if it's ever going to drop.
I'm scared.
And I can tell you there's no sensation like looking straight at that ground 200 feet in the air and watch that come up to you in less than a second. It just creates an adrenaline rush like none other.
Oh, man. Oh, my God.
Screams are a great sign on thrill rides. We know that we've accomplished our task with a thrill ride if we hear screams.
In the business of defying gravity, technology is all. The ride has to be safe, fun, effective, and scary. The ride's creators, Intamin of Switzerland, designed Acrophobia with a lift system that can lock and release a 65,000-pound seating ring. The harnesses keep riders safely in their positions as 4 AC drive motors rotate the 30-passenger ring on its way up to 200 feet.
Acrophobia does a 360-degree rotation. Guide wheels such as these are what maintains the stability of the ride as it's in a rotation cycle.
The motors drive the ring upwards at 3 meters per second, or 6 to 7 miles an hour.
After the passenger ring reaches the top of the ride, the computer gives a signal to the pneumatic cylinder here that creates the 15-degree tilt.
The lift system holds riders suspended and tilting out at the top. The suspension seems forever, but in fact is only for 20 seconds. Then the ring's released and gravity takes control. Passengers plummet towards Earth at 60 miles an hour. So what stops them?
Well, it's the basic magnet principle where you have eddy current, where you have the north and south poles, and what this does, we have a series of magnets that goes through these brake fins.
Intamin designed a magnetic braking system. Brake fins lining the base of the tower are made of a mixture of steel and copper. The magnets in the ride's braking system are naturally repelled by the copper element.
The actual brake fins, what changes the braking action of the passenger vehicle is the increased amount of copper that's added to the steel material. As you come down, that increase of copper keeps increasing, which in turn gives you the slower and slower speed of the passenger vehicle. It gives to a nice soft stop. These are permanent magnets. They stay in their permanent state, and it's totally fail-safe. There's nothing feeding this as far as electrical power. It's purely a mechanical